I know what you're thinking. No one's ever heard of the ghost of Saracens. By all accounts, she died peacefully, a contented old lady of 75, surrounded by her loving family, with not a care in the world. Other than dying, of course, I suppose. But not a regret. Not the kind of regret that gets you turned into a ghost, doomed to haunt the scenes of your past life for all eternity. I know, I get it all the time. But let me ask you, have you ever been in the basements of the old Bristol Vic alone? After all the audience has shuffled out and the cast and crew have retired to the pub? Not the new renovated substage, the proper old basements. I didn't think so. Well, I have. And let me tell you, I'm in no hurry to go back. No hurry at all. It happened like this. It was a Monday like any other. The boss had signed me a few jobs, nothing too strenuous, a repair here and there, easy pickings to start the week. There's always this sort of work for a builder in Bristol. All the old buildings, right? Need seeing to. The afternoon, I saw I was due to call in at the old Vic. Great stuff. I've been there with the family just the weekend before the panto. That bloke who plays Gandalf as the Dane, he's behind you, and all that. Oh, great fun. So I thought, that'll be top. See what it's like behind the scenes. Report back to the family. You know how it is. Something to chat about over dinner. It's a funny one, this, the boss said as I gathered up my things. This theatre job. Called in late last night it was. The watchman, he needs to get behind one of the old walls. I'd heard of stranger jobs before, definitely. There was one a few years back where a lady wanted a wall put right down the centre of her garden. I never did figure out why. Full on brick wall with nothing at either end and nothing on either side. And that was nothing compared to the holes I've patched up over the years. What folks do in their houses, I tell you. Holes of all shapes and sizes, some with clean edges, like they'd been sanded after the wall been punched in. Some with the plaster scattered clean across the next room. They'd been made with such force. Some that I swear you could walk right through. They'd been better off putting in a doorway than having the wall patched up again. Would have been cheaper. Anyway, I'd had all kinds of funny jobs. But what could be strange about a wall needing to come down in an old-time theatre? I bet the walls in there have been up and down as many times as a curtain. I forgot all about the theatre job as I went about my morning calls. Nothing difficult, nothing troubling. Done and dusted, as they say. Had my lunch back at the office, then headed down to the old Vic. Parked up by the stage door, then went in. And I'll tell you, I felt like a proper star going in that door, a celebrity. Robin, the bloke inside, took me down the twistiest set of corridors I'd ever seen. And I've seen some crackers. We went deeper and deeper in, and the corridors got narrower and narrower, and the light got dimmer and dimmer. Robin was the silent type. Sometimes clients will talk my ear off with all about the house, building, especially these historical ones. But he just led on. After a few minutes, I swear I started to get colder. But that was surely just my imagination. Finally, we took a last turn to the right, came to some sort of alcove. There was an old painting on the wall in front of me. A lady in one of them poofy skirts, hair piled high, surrounded by cupids or whatever they are. Hazy looking tree in the background. Robin stopped in front of the painting. That's the one, he said gruffly, behind the sit-ins. The sit? What? I had no clue what he was on about. The Siddons, Robin gestured at the painting. Sarah Siddons, actress. She worked here a few centuries ago. As if it were last week. I nodded, half comprehending. I wasn't interested in their history. But I was starting to see what the boss meant when he called this a funny one. Not the job, the people. There's something back there, Robin continued, nodding his head at the painting. I went up to the wall, tapped a knuckle. Simple enough. Wallpaper already peeling off. Plaster, wooden studs nicely spaced. I nodded back at Robin. Shouldn't take long to get through. Together, we got the painting down, leaned it up against the far wall of the corridor. The paper where it had hung was nearly perfect. Whirls of bright ferns on a bluish background with some pink flower buds scattered about. Oh, beautiful. Like stepping into a colour film of the past, next to the faded shreds hanging off the wall just beside. I sensed something as I stared at that bright paper, something more than Robin's presence behind me. There was a smell too, suddenly. Reminded me of my mum's garden on a summer morning. Oh, it was easy enough to get the paper down and to start clearing a space between the studs. Robin left me to it. But it suddenly didn't feel so lonely down there. Not as if I was by myself at all. Finally, the hole stretched about a foot across, and I directed my head torch through. There, beyond the wall, was an office. Desk, chairs, more of that wallpaper, pristine in the light of the torch. The beam reflected briefly off a dusty mirror leant up against the far wall. It wasn't the room that made my skin crawl suddenly. The smell of the garden was there again. And as the light of my torch flickered across the void beyond the wall, what I saw wasn't just furniture. The light caught in the rigid folds of a long skirt. It reflected sharply off the coiled plaits piled high. It slid slowly down and illuminated a pair of dark eyes, staring straight back at me. The eyes of the painting, but alive, so alive, and how could anything be alive, boxed up with all that dust behind that wall? I felt more than heard the words, transfixed as I was on those eyes. Get out! The next thing I knew, I was stumbling out the stage door, falling sideways into my van. I heard Robin calling after me as I struggled to catch my breath. But I'll tell you, I'll never step foot in a theatre again.